Okay, I am here today with Dr. Elena Seranova. This, I'm hoping, will prove a very interesting conversation since Elena is not only an entrepreneur, but also someone that's gained her recent doctorate in philosophy, but specializing in an area that I think, especially for us parents out there, they're in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and I'll tell you now, you know already, I'm somewhere in that range, that even just the feel of losing a little bit of energy starts to consume some of your life. So this conversation today will tap into some ideas, and in particular a product that will help, we hope, to give you a little bit more spring back into your life. And Elena's specialist area actually recently was in autophagy and stem cell biology, but there's much more to her background. So what I'm going to do is ask Elena, I wonder if you could just introduce yourself and tell us how it is that we are now speaking to each other and the journey you've taken to get to where we are right now. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, David. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for having me on the channel.
Thank you.
So I actually have an interdisciplinary background in terms of my studies. So I started studying psychology, and then I opened my own private practice, and I ended up working with a neurofeedback device, if you've heard of this before, which basically is, it has a broad range of applications. And I used to work with different patients with psychological and neurological disorders. And I kind of got fascinated by neuroscience at the time. So I started studying neuroscience myself at first, and I wanted to understand the symptoms that I'm seeing in my patients and so on. And this is how I found an amazing master's degree in neuroscience and genetics in the UK. So this is where a big change in my life came as well. So I moved from Greece to the UK in 2015 to do my master's in translational neuroscience. And then this is where I got introduced to wet lab science. So I got really fascinated by this, doing molecular biology experiments, evaluating studying different proteins that are related to neurodegeneration and so on. And after my master's degree, I co-founded a biotech startup. And then I realized that I want to know the science even more in order to be able to stay in this space of biotech and to be able to make rational decisions when it comes to, scientific products and services and so on. And this is how I ended up continuing my studies in the field of stem cell biology and autophagy, as you mentioned. And yes, here we are today, 4 years later. So it was definitely a priceless journey. And we did have a few unexpected findings during my PhD work. So our research led us to actually study NAD biology as well. Unfortunately, my PhD work is not published yet, so I cannot share this in this podcast. But maybe in a few months, this is something that we can talk about in more detail. So this is how I was led to this field of NAD biology, and I got fascinated by how important this molecule is and what it can do in the lab, in the experiments that I was running myself during my PhD. And then eventually I learned about different NAD precursors and NAD boosters. And one of them, which is a molecule that is quite popular at the moment and is gaining more and more interest from the scientific community, is NMN, Nicotinamide Mononucleotide. And, there are different molecules out there. Another one is NR, but NMN is actually a direct precursor of NAD. And in order to clarify this, so NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, is a molecule that is essential for over 300 enzymatic reactions in the cell. So it's really crucial for our cellular metabolism. And, if our NAD levels would suddenly drop to zero, we would be dead within 30 seconds. So this is how important it is. It's as another scientist has mentioned the other day in a podcast I was listening to. It's probably one of the most two important molecules in the body, along with ATP, which is a very important molecule for our cells to keep running, basically.
Brilliant. You did really well there. Just to whittle that journey down to a short description. Now, NAD. That's a really good way of describing it. And from what I understand, NAD is found in every cell, not just human cell biology, but pretty much all cells. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes.
And it's a crucial part of it to help regenerate. Is that correct? Yep.
Yeah, it's so important because NAD is what is necessary for our sirtuin genes to function. So sirtuin genes are a family of very important genes that control epigenetic regulation. So they're histone deacetylases, and what they do is they basically regulate which genes are accessible to for regulation to different transcription factors, and this regulation is crucial for the cell to know what needs to be switched on and switched off, and what to react to when the cell or the organism is under conditions of stress. So, for example, when there is caloric restriction, the sirtuin genes will also get activated because the body just says, oh, so we don't have enough calories and we don't know when will we have food again. So this means that we actually need to run like the whole body very, very smoothly right now. And this is where mitochondrial biogenesis occurs and everything works better.
Yeah, hence why both you and I are in a fasted state right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really interesting. From what I understand, then both NMN and NR are naturally producing molecules anyway. Is that correct? Does the body produce those anyway?
Yeah, this is correct. However, what happens is that they're being produced in quite small amounts, and as we age, they're actually produced less and less. So this is the reason why over 25, 27, 30, we start experiencing this decline in energy, and this is universal for pretty much everyone that is listening to us right now. Because our hormone production is peaking at 25, and then give it a couple of more years, and it's all kind of downhill from there. So this also applies to the production of those molecules, and as a result, the levels of NAD in the body are also decreasing with age, and especially, as I said, after 30, this is something that everyone feels quite regularly.
Absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is, much of what I do now works on a lot of the degenerative actions that our bodies go through as we age. Balance, for example, I make damn sure that I do exercises that work on that in particular. I suppose with all kinds of cell autophagy and various other things like that, I know that my cold therapy, my fasting, my breath work can all work to enhance these things. But it's always good to learn of extra tools, extra methods, or in your case, a molecule that could be consumed that further aids or further reduces this degeneration. We all should grow old gracefully, but it'd be nice to be able to do that with a straight back, still being able to do a lot of the stuff that we want to do because we love doing it. Mm-hmm. So
I'm glad that you mentioned, the other techniques that you're implementing on a regular basis, because what happens is that with exercise and with cryotherapy and with other things, what you manage to do is you again manage to activate this stress response. that will activate the production of NAD, and it will activate the function of sirtuins, because again, the body gets the same signal that something is not quite good. Because what's happening when we don't exercise, we're in a state where the body doesn't need to work at 100% capacity. The mitochondria don't need to be completely functional, so they might as well work at 50% capacity, because the body says, okay, well, everything's fine, no one's chasing me, I have an abundance of food, I might just, you know, just slowly exist. And this is where the mitochondrial function starts to decline. This is where the NAD production starts to decline, and sirtuins don't see a reason to have this appetite regulation of the epigenin. But however, if we do have this stress on a regular basis from exercise or from other things that we do, it's called hormesis, actually. Yeah. So this keeps the body in a state where it's alert and it's ready to deal with the next threat, whether it's again caloric restriction or something else. And this is where you do have this optimal production of healthy mitochondria. You get new mitochondria. You get more appetite regulation of the epigenome, and this is where your body is in a much more optimal state, rather than, you know, just being a couch potato basically, and you know, not having anything else going on.
Absolutely. And I think we do need stark statements like that to kind of wake people up. Because those that are in a kind of a couch potato situation, there's obviously other things going on, and doubtless they're probably suffering some form of anxiety or stress. So sometimes it takes a fair bit to get them out of that current state, which is why I often talk about these, as you say, short bouts of stress. That could be from cold, it could be from a variety of different things, but they're really good at changing your state enough to then start looking at other areas that can help your body adapt. And hormesis is something that I've spoken about on my channel before. It's a really interesting area of understanding, isn't it? Now, I wonder, could I probe further into your product in particular? What obviously you came to me initially, and as my channel is growing, I do get approached now by various different people, but I'm very careful about who I speak to. And if I'm ever going to promote anything, I'm very careful, because I want to make sure that whatever it is, this thing is obviously not going to do any damage, but also is one that I would take myself, that have done for a period of time, that I've seen benefits from. So both you and I obviously agreed that I would sample this product, and for those watching, I have been sampling it, and I'm very careful about how I describe stuff, because I'm also aware of the psychosomatic effect as well. But I will state now, as by your guidance, I have been taking initially 250 milligrams, increasing it after 4 days to 500 milligrams, and then after 10 days I increased it to 1 gram. I didn't notice anything until I increased to 1 gram. I was very careful though, because I wanted to assess whatever else I was doing at the same time, to make sure that my routine hadn't changed significantly. But after upping the dose to 1 gram, I definitely felt lighter. And what I mean by it was a very difficult way of trying to describe it to either you or anybody else, but I felt like my brain had further awoken. I mean, the great thing is all of the stuff that I do, I felt like things have, dormant things have awoken, but actually it was in my brain that it just felt like there was a cool breeze running through it. There was something going on there that just made me feel a little bit more, I feel a little bit more light. Now, I don't want to go into much further than that in describing what I've noticed, because I suspect, and I'll report back on this, in a month's time again, or 2-3 months, to see if there's any other noticeable effects. But albeit subtle, I've definitely noticed a change in how I feel, and it's positive. But I wonder, before we go into perhaps your anecdotal experiences, both with you and I know you've had certain senior family members take it as well. Could you tell everybody how your product is derived, where it's come from, in the sense, not necessarily what it has to go through in the lab, but as far as your supply chain is concerned? I know you're very careful as to where that comes from.
Sure. Yeah. So the reason for me to start NMNBio, to start this company, was that I started supplementing with NMN myself over a year ago while I was still doing my PhD. And it was actually quite frustrating to find a reliable supplier. And from what I've seen, because of the publicity that this compound has received over the past year or two, because of Dr. David Sinclair's book Lifespan. And you basically have a lot of companies out there that just white label NMN, and it's really hard to track them down. It's really hard to see who is the CEO, where are they based, what is the company registration number. They don't know the certificate of analysis on the website and things like this. So I realized while I started supplementing with NMN that it is a compound that works really well for me and for my family, which I'll talk about in a bit. But it was really hard for me to know that what I'm getting is actually a pure product. And for this reason, because I saw that there is a demand in the market for this product, I created NMNBio because I wanted to have a completely transparent supply chain. I wanted the consumer to know that, look, this is a company that is founded by a scientist, by myself. And, if you want to know anything about our product, you can just email us. And of course, we already have some things on the website. So you can see the certificate of analysis on the website. And so what we say is that we claim that we do have a transparent supply chain where if you email us, we can disclose all of our suppliers to you, from raw materials to packaging, to third-party testing, everything. And this is my vision because of the NMN biology and how it's produced in the lab. It actually it's produced by fermentation, and it consists of several steps that need to be performed in the lab. So it's not just a plant extract or something like this. And this is what drives the price up. For this reason, there are all of these opportunistic companies out there that just want to profit from it. And our goal is not to make as much money as possible from this company. Our goal is to provide the purest product possible. And if you even compare our certificate of analysis with, other companies that are already established, or they claim that they are established, they don't even show the microbiological analysis. So you don't know if there are any microorganisms in there, or, they don't measure the pH, which is critical for this compound, and so on. Or you open the bottle and there is no silica gel inside to prevent the humidity from accumulating. So all of those things. But when I saw that, I realized that the industry is is perhaps not as tightly regulated as needed, and we launched NMNBio with this in mind, with providing a product that is very pure, and with providing a product that anyone can access, and anyone can also access the information about our supply chain. So in order to reply to your question, so there are also a lot of mislabeling going on with other companies. So you would see bottles saying made in the UK or made in the US and so on. But actually, there is no production of raw materials of NMN outside China at the moment. It's just you do need to find a reliable supplier. And because they're packaging it in the UK or in the US, they also say made in the US or UK, which is very misleading. And this is obviously not what we do. Our product is packaged and third-party tested in the UK. And this is what we disclose on the label. We say tested in the UK. And we have the certificate of analysis from an independent lab where we send a sample. A sample is actually being sent from our packaging facility. So it's not even coming from our offices. It's just the raw materials are going to the packaging facility, and then they are sending a sample to to the third-party testing facility for our NMN. And then this is what we do. We have our packaging facility is ISO 9001 certified, and it's a pharmaceutical grade 7 packaging facility. So it's very clean and sterile and so on.
Well, all of that is hugely important, especially now. It'd be interesting to know, I think, for a lot of people, how we've reached this point in our. Obviously, we can thank Mr. Sinclair a lot for the promotion of or understanding of NAD and in particular NMN. But how have we reached this point where we are right now, insofar as what studies have been carried out to understand its effects, be it on animals or humans?
Yeah. So there are multiple studies done in animals so far. So you can see that in long-term administration in mice, NMN is very safe and very tolerable. There is a safety study in humans done as well, where the intake of NMN is safe with no side effects. And there are many more clinical trials underway right now studying the effect of boosting NAD in different tissues and so on, and other beneficial effects with different biomarkers being studied. However, despite the fact that there are not many clinical trials that have been completed for NMN, there are multiple studies that have been completed for NR as well. So basically what NMN is, it's a phosphorylated NR molecule.
Right.
So despite the fact that it hasn't been studied so extensively so far in humans, but in my studies, NMN outperforms NR in every single test.
Right.
So if you see the results, you can see the DNA repair, the different kinds of metabolism being balanced and improved. So cellular metabolism, energy metabolism, lipid metabolism, lipid profile, insulin sensitivity in mice. There is an increase and there is an improvement in vision and hearing in mice as well, which is just fantastic for NMN. Yeah, I've been surprised to see those studies myself as well. And when you compare the NR molecule and NMN would always have better results in mice than in humans. And this is why, we're so enthusiastic about NMN intake in humans at the moment. And then the safety. So when they studied safety, so in mice, they would treat mice with 300 mg per kilogram. Which is quite a high dose, because in humans we only take 500 mg or 1 gram, as you mentioned before. So this is a range of intake that is recommended for humans. So the safety threshold is much higher than that we we currently are utilizing on a daily basis. So there is no concern there. There is no concern for safety, and of course this is not a medical advice. And you should always consult with your doctor when you're taking supplements. But from the evidence that we already have, it's definitely safe, and there is no reason not to take it from how I see it. And from what you mentioned before about my family members as well. Yeah, several of my family members are taking it for months, and they're seeing an amazing difference in many symptoms of aging, really. So from better energy and concentration and focus, better skin as well, things like that, to more mobility in joints from arthritis and things like this as well. And
does it improve bone density?
In mice it does. Yeah,
in
mice it does. So this is something that we should measure in humans as well.
I'm going to talk to you now from a semi-idiot's perspective of understanding. Could I consider this in the same way that I might consider taking creatine, for example, in the sense that creatine is something the body produces anyway, and by taking an extra dose of it, that would make sense to me if I was doing lots of powerlifting or whatever. Can I, although it's not the same in any way doing the same task, can I consider it psychologically in the same way, do you think, in your opinion, as to, adding it to my
definitely
body?
this is one way of seeing it. I think that you can definitely consider it this way. But at the same time, what is important to understand about NMN and its action, because it is utilized as a fuel for sirtuins, which, as we said, basically regulate, by regulating the epigenome, they basically end up regulating a bunch of cellular processes in the cell. This is why it's so efficient. And the reason, again, I founded this company is because I was experimenting with different supplements, for the past 10, 15 years. And I've never taken a supplement that is so efficient. And actually, it came into my life when a year ago, I was burned out from my PhD and my energy levels were actually quite low. And then I tried supplementing myself with NMN. And I've seen an amazing difference after a few days. And I've never felt this before with any other supplement. So for me, it's like, I don't want to say something cliche like the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a supplement that provides an amazing effect. So yeah, I wouldn't put it in the same category as any other supplement, either creatine or anything else I've taken before, because for me it's far superior as to what it can do. And again, this is anecdotal evidence, and we are patiently waiting for more clinical studies to complete this year.
And I wonder, actually, I'd have to assume, let's say you were a couch potato and you took and you started to supplement with NMN versus a crazy dude like me that enjoys cold therapy and various other known or hopefully known health beneficial practices, that somebody like me is possibly more likely to experience more of the positive effects, I would have to assume, given the fact that theoretically at least some of the systems in my body are working more efficiently than those being stuck on a couch, I'd have to assume. I wonder then, could we ask, I know of a few people that have taken some NMN, and one person in particular said, oh yes, I'm also adding NAD, which really confused me in the sense that, hang on a minute, if NMN is a precursor and it helps to boost NAD, is there any point in taking, in your opinion, so this is a question to you, is there any point also adding to that with further boosters of NAD?
Yeah, so what happens is that NAD is quite a large molecule, so its bioavailability is actually very low. So I'm not sure what is the reason to supplement with NAD. I know I don't supplement with NAD. I only supplement with NMN and a few other supplements. But in terms of boosting my NAD, I'm not sure if there is actually a reason to do this, because so NAD is called nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, which means that it has 2 nucleotides. And this makes it quite a large molecule, while NMN is nicotinamide mononucleotide. So it's 1 nucleotide, and it's much easier absorbed. And I can't see a reason to supplement with NAD.
Interesting. And I suppose it all comes down as well to that product, the quality of the product itself, which will, of course, determine whether or not you're experiencing some benefits or not. I would imagine, given our previous conversations, given that you are an entrepreneur as well, that you've got further plans afoot for NMNBio. So I wonder, could we just touch on that as well? Are there other molecules that you're working on, or other ideas in the pipeline that will add to these boosters?
Yes, of course. So NMN is just our first product, and eventually we want to have a whole range of supplements supporting longevity. in the market. So those at first would be molecules that are already well known. So for instance, resveratrol, and especially trans resveratrol is one such molecule, and it actually works quite well. And it has a synergistic effect with NMN because resveratrol is something that activates the sirtuins, and then NMN serves as a fuel for them. So it's quite a nice combination to take resveratrol and NMN. And again, because of this research surge of interest in this anti-aging field, I can see again many companies white labeling resveratrol, and they're becoming quite smart. So because they want to avoid the certificate of analysis and all of those things, the things that I've spotted so far are really amusing. So trans resveratrol should be white, right? Because if you have brown resveratrol, this means that it's the cis resveratrol version of it, and it's not really that efficient. So trans resveratrol has more bioavailability. And what I've seen in, I don't even remember which company was that, but what they said that they used brown rice flour as a filling agent for their capsules in order to say that, yeah, we still cater trans resveratrol, but it's just brown because our filler is brown, which is absolute bullshit. Because how about, you just use a different filler for your capsules, and with some products, it's not possible to not use a filler for the capsule because it needs to you do need some sort of flowing agent in order to fill in the capsules. Or if you use the one of the smallest sizes of capsules available, so most packaging facilities use the size 0 of capsules available, which is at 500 mg, which means that if you want to have 250 mg of a product in a capsule, you need 250 mg of a filler as well in order to fill in the capsule. And there is no way around it. And this is okay. It's not a bad thing because we have different fillers that we can use, and they're not harmful for you. They're just an agent that contributes to this packaging. And so what they do is they claim that it's trans resveratrol, but they use a brown filler for the capsule, which, if you have a clean product, how about you just use a different filler, and then you resolve this problem for yourself. Anyway, continuing with your question and with what you asked me there, resveratrol is definitely a molecule we will be looking at bringing into the market, and ours will be white. As well as other supplements that can have a nice synergistic effect with NMN, such as TMG, trimethylglycine, which basically gives your body more methyl groups to utilize, and this can also enhance the effect from NMN. And after we have a broad range of supplements in the market, we will also start the production of proprietary supplements. So as you mentioned, my background is in autophagy and stem cell biology, and I've been studying the interplay between autophagy and NAD for quite some time now, and I think there is quite a nice synergy there. So our proprietary supplements will be focused on boosting autophagy as well as NAD.
Very interesting. Now, I wonder, if we kind of get close to rounding this conversation off, could we turn to you, given that you've had this enthusiasm and an interest in anti-aging ideas, what do you do as part of your daily routine that further aids or should aid that anti-aging effect that we all suffer?
Okay, yeah. So one important thing that I'm trying to do on a daily basis, sometimes I'm failing, sometimes I'm succeeding, is the intermittent fasting. So I'm trying to reduce the hours where I'm consuming food, with optimally 3 or 4 hours a day where I have this window where I'm consuming food. But this is not always possible, of course, and I think that you need to ease yourself into it. So for instance, a couple of years ago, I was doing 3 meals a day. And this is not possible for me anymore because I started narrowing this window down. And now it's usually a 2 meals or one. One is hard for me to do. I have quite a high metabolism. So I'm at least trying to keep it 2 meals a day. And then I'm trying to narrow down this window of food consumption. Another one would be to try and get some sort of exercise at least 3-4 times a week. This is also important. And in terms of sirtuin activation, so when you're just going for a walk, you're not going to activate your sirtuins. But if you're running and you're actually getting into slight hypoxia, meaning that you start running out of breath, this is where this hormesis effects come in again, and you have the sirtuin activation. So I'm trying to do this. I like swimming as well. So it would either be swimming or running for me in order to achieve this effect. I like hot baths, and I know that they're not quite as good as a sauna. However, I might not be having access to a sauna on a daily basis, but I'm trying to supplement with a hot bath. And if the temperature of the water is above 40, you will still get this effect of increased heart rate and sweating, which is quite close to what sauna would give you. And yeah, this is definitely something that I'm trying to do as often as possible, staying well hydrated as well. And yeah, having a healthy sleep cycle as well. So trying to go to sleep as early as possible. And I don't use an alarm for over a year now, probably. So I like waking up naturally. And I think this is actually quite important. And I feel very good when I don't use an alarm. And I'm trying to get at least 8 hours or 7 hours of sleep at least. But usually it's 8.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I mean, yeah, tapping into the circadian rhythm, I think, is really important. You're like me as well with a high metabolic rate, and I struggle to try and do one meal a day. I think it's one of those things, isn't it, where you can do it every now and again, but you also have to, with all of these methods and practices, it's all about getting to a point where you can listen to your body. We often, especially you watch these kind of videos, you get ideas and you think, oh, well, if that works for that person, it will work for me. And then we try and force it into our life. And of course, that's completely the wrong idea. You have to take all of this stuff in the same way taking NMN, or whatever it might be. You start slowly, you build it into your life. If you're trying to force a significant contrasting change to your lifestyle, it very rarely works because your body has been doing a certain thing for a period of time. It doesn't like change. So you need to just gently tap, tap, tap until you move to another path.
Yeah, absolutely. This is how I started doing the intermittent fasting. And this is how I started introducing more exercise into my life as well. I first started walking for a bit, then I started running for a bit, and then increasing gradually the amount of running.
Yeah. Well, actually, on that note, so a good friend of mine, Dr. Emmanuel Stamatakis in Australia, he has coined initially the phrase HIPAA, high intensity incidental physical activity. He's changed it recently to VILPA. But the whole idea is that you, rather than making yourself go for a run, because I think a lot of people force exercise upon themselves, again, a really bad idea. He is proposing and is currently studying the whole idea that all you need to do instead is raise your heart rate 4 or 5 times a day. And therefore you focus on simply raising your heart rate throughout the day for a period of time, rather than thinking, oh, I must go for a run. That means I've got to put new kit on, or I've got to go to the gym. That means that takes time out of my day. All these kind of justifications for not doing it. You can remove all of that by simply going, okay, how can I raise my heart for the next 5 minutes, heart rate for the next 5 minutes? And so this is what I do now. I just go about my day thinking, I know I need to raise my heart rate a few times.
Yeah.
I'll get enthusiastic about figuring out different ways of doing it. So it's another idea, I think, for those that don't like exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. Good tip.
Is there anything else that is worthwhile the viewers hearing from you as far as anything that you don't think we've covered so far?
What we haven't covered is that, so as we said, NAD serves as a fuel for sirtuins, and for this reason, sirtuins are called NADases. So it's enzymes that consume NAD. And besides sirtuins, there are different other enzymes in the body that actually consume NAD as well. And this is one reason NAD levels drop as we age. So for instance, CD38 is such an enzyme, and it's being increased as we age because of increased level of inflammaging that we experiencing. And for this reason, there is actually another tip I can give to our audience today. There is a molecule called Epigenin, which you can either find in a supplement, and we will also probably bring it into the market as well in 2021. And you can also find this molecule in parsley, and especially in dried parsley. So this means that by consuming a teaspoon of dried parsley per day, you can actually block your CD38 activity. And this would also give your NAD a boost. And for this reason, there will be more NAD available to your sirtuin genes.
Interesting. Well, I would imagine your Grecian diet, if it derives from there, would have included a fair bit of parsley.
Absolutely. My mom has some parsley in her garden in Greece.
Yeah, so okay, so I'm not going to go grab some dried parsley as a teaspoon and shove it in my mouth, but I'm going to now figure out ways of incorporating more, because I don't ever eat parsley. I'm going to figure out ways of incorporating it into my diet. That was really cool. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Elena. I really appreciate your time on this.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we'll do probably something similar again, hopefully in the future. And I think it's, for those watching, it's worth me reporting back any further experiences, feelings that I get, noticeable benefits or effects, so that people can get an understanding from my perspective. Again, it is only my perspective. As you've mentioned, you've got to get yourself checked out by the doc. You want to do your own research. But as I said, so far, so good as far as I'm concerned. So thank you. Really nice talking to you.
And really glad to hear all of this beneficial effect that you already have experienced with taking NMN.
It's good. I'm liking it. So, well, speak to you again soon. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye, David.
Nice chatting.